Israeli strikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs early Friday as thousands of IDF soldiers have been deployed across the border, while Hezbollah militants continued rocket attacks on Israel. Ukraine and Saudi Arabia have signed a landmark defense cooperation deal focusing on developing capabilities to counter aerial threats from missiles and drones. Israeli strikes hit Tehran and Beirut early Friday, with smoke seen billowing from the southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital. The Israeli military has called for the immediate evacuation of Sojud village in southern Lebanon, warning of imminent attack against Hezbollah. Hezbollah fighters continued attacks on Israeli troops in southern Lebanon, where Israel has deployed thousands of soldiers across the border. Officials in Israel intend to seize control of the entire area south of the Litani River, a move that prompted Saudi Arabia to urge its citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. Rockets fired from Lebanon were intercepted over Haifa on Thursday, though Israeli reports confirm one man was killed and 4 others were wounded by shrapnel. In a letter to the military on Friday, the parents of combat soldiers, a group representing 600 families, called for an end to the ground offensive, urging a political solution instead. Lebanon was drawn into the war on 2nd of March when Hezbollah began firing rockets into Israel to avenge the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The war has claimed over 1,900 lives in Iran and 1,100 in Lebanon. In Israel, 18 people have died, including 4 soldiers killed in combat in Lebanon.
An invasion, not a limited operation. This is how the Lebanese culture minister Hassan Salameh described the Israeli military campaign in his country on Euronews morning show Europe Today on Friday.
Yesterday, AP has shifted from something quite vague into saying exactly that it's an invasion. I used to say it's a creeping action by the Israeli military, and I say since yesterday, it's now an invasion.
Lebanon was drawn into the wider Iran war in early March when the Tehran-backed militia Hezbollah began firing rockets into Israel and Israel fired back. In 3 weeks, the UN says over 1 million people have been internally displaced and over 1,000 are dead, including scores of humanitarian and medical staff. Minister Salameh said the conflict had now entered a more dangerous phase, noting a shift in Israel's strategy on the ground. He believes plans for a buffer zone south of the Litani River could amount to a long-term territorial grab. Salameh feels the current approach is different from previous buffer zones, as now entire villages are being destroyed in South Lebanon, leaving no infrastructure or conditions for civilians to return. Cyprus Minister of Foreign Affairs Konstantinos Kombos has issued a clear warning to citizens planning to travel to the Middle East. With the Orthodox Easter holiday approaching, authorities have observed an increase in travel plans to countries in the region. The minister emphasized that anyone choosing to travel will do so at their own risk, and the government will not arrange repatriation flights for those who may become stranded.
Η προσπάθεια επαναπατρισμού συμπολιτών μας από τέτοιες περιοχές που προηγήθηκε το προηγούμενο διάστημα ήταν δύσκολη, ολοκληρώθηκε με επιτυχία, αλλά δεν μπορεί και δεν πρόκειται να επανεκκινήσει στο μέλλον. Συνεπώς, υπογραμμίζω ότι το ζήτημα πρέπει να προσεγγιστεί από τούδε και στο εξής και στο πλαίσιο της ατομικής ευθύνης.
Following the outbreak of the war, around 1,000 citizens were repatriated to Cyprus, mainly from the United Arab Emirates. Updated travel advisories now urge Cypriot citizens to avoid all travels to the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Israel, Qatar, Kuwait, Lebanon, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia.
Ukraine and Saudi Arabia have signed a landmark defense cooperation deal, the first of its kind in the Gulf, focused on developing capabilities to counter aerial threats from missiles and drones. During a visit to Jeddah 1 month into the Iran war, President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Kiev aims to strengthen its international role as a security donor by sharing battle-tested technologies and expertise. While acknowledging Saudi capabilities, Zelensky highlighted Ukraine's specific interest in air defense systems to counter Russian ballistic missiles. The president also met with over 200 Ukrainian anti-drone experts already deployed to Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar. The deployment follows a recent Moscow attack in which Ukrainian air defenses achieved a record 97% interception rate against drones. Earlier at the Joint Expeditionary Force Summit in Helsinki, Zelensky urged leaders to ramp up European defense production. He urged that Europe must rely on its own industries rather than external partners to ensure long-term stability in energy and global markets.
Switzerland's new army chief says the country does not yet have the necessary defenses against potential drone attacks, such as those being used in the war in the Middle East.
Parce que contre les menaces qu'on voit maintenant dans l'Iran, on n'a plus ou moins rien. Rien. Zéro. Et vous voyez après, ça c'est la raison pour laquelle on doit investir dans ce domaine-là. Et une chose qui me fait vraiment de souci, c'est qu'est-ce qu'on fait si ces nouveaux systèmes, les drones et tout ça, vont dans les mains des terroristes. Alors après ça, on n'a encore plus besoin de tous ces systèmes de défense.
The assessment comes as the Swiss government prepares to boost its defense spending, focused on expanding ground-based aerial defense, protection against drones, and additional cyberspace capabilities. The army chief says there are two main priorities.
La première, c'est une réponse sur les menaces hybrides. Ça commence des attaques cyber dans l'espace des informations. Et la deuxième, c'est contre la menace de grande distance.
Earlier this month, Switzerland and the EU also said they planned to deepen cooperation on security and defense, including the exchange of information in areas ranging from Ukraine to the Middle East.
Maria Kolesnikova, the Belarusian opposition leader, is now in Berlin after nearly 5.5 years in prison. She was awarded the prestigious Charlemagne Prize while in detention, which she was only now able to receive. Euronews spoke with her about the future of her country.
Welche Entwicklungen machen Ihnen Hoffnung in Belarus und welche machen Ihnen Sorgen?
Wenn man denkt und spricht über Zukunft, es gibt große Sorgen, so dass Belarus kann ihre Souveränität verloren. Und es ist ganz nah eigentlich, weil ökonomisch wir sind nicht mehr so unabhängig als früher. Und das ist eigentlich ein Teil, es ist Ergebnis von Sanktionen. Wenn die Sanktionen ganz starkes Druck auf Lukaschenko machen, der kehrt sich nach Russland. Und Russland hat natürlich profitiert dafür, dass Belarus keinen Kontakt mit EU hat.
But what about the majority of people in Belarus? Are they moving towards the EU or towards Russia?
Es gibt jetzt eine riesige russische aggressive Propaganda in Belarus und es ist vielleicht sogar viel gefährlicher als Sanktionen, weil es ist schon 5 Jahre vorbei und es gibt jüngere Generationen, die haben 2020 und Proteste nicht mitgekriegt. Sie wissen jetzt nicht mehr, was ist das, was ist was. Und Gefahr ist, dass in noch ein paar Jahren oder noch 5 Jahren es würde schon mehrere Generationen sein, die würden überhaupt nicht verstehen, was EU ist und was demokratische Werte ist.
The EU must therefore communicate with Lukashenko and clearly defend its interests, says Kolesnikova.
Und wenn man nicht mit Lukaschenko keine Gespräche wollen, irgendwann kommt die Zeit, der Staat Lukaschenko, die müssen mit Putin sprechen. Und das ist, finde ich, viel schlimmer.
Maria Kolesnikova counts on Europe's support. She hopes that solidarity will, in the long term, strengthen the path towards more democracy and independence in Belarus.
Belendra Shah, Nepal's youngest prime minister, took the oath of office on Friday after his party won a landslide victory in elections earlier this month. In September, a youth-led uprising toppled the government. The 35-year-old rapper-turned-politician was appointed prime minister by President Ram Chandra Patel on Friday after his Rashtriya Swatantra Party won nearly two-thirds of the seats in the House of Representatives. Shah will lead a government tasked with navigating deep public frustration with Nepal's established parties, who were widely blamed by voters for corruption and chronic political instability. The structural engineer, widely known as Balin, rose to fame as a rap artist before becoming Kathmandu's mayor. Shah emerged as a prominent voice during the bloody youth-led uprising in September, although he did not directly participate in them.
The whale is finally free. The marine mammal, measuring around 10 meters in length, had become stranded earlier this week near Niendorf in Germany, north of the city of Lübeck. For several days, rescue teams had been working to free the male whale. Boats were initially used to create waves. Rescuers eventually resorted to using excavators to dig a passage through the sand. In a final effort, the humpback whale managed to reach the open sea, accompanied by several boats. Although the rescue operation was a success, marine biology specialists are tempering the optimism.
Aber ich möchte nochmal betonen, das ist nicht die Rettung, das ist nur ein kleiner Schritt in die richtige Richtung. Die Rettung ist, wenn zu Hause ist im Atlantik. Und das ist noch ein weiter Weg. Vielleicht sehen wir ihn nie wieder, vielleicht liegt er schon 50 Kilometer weiter östlich am Strand. Das werden wir heute wissen.
The animal is believed to be ill and it faces a long journey before finding its way back to the ocean.